forecast, and business intelligence are all concepts in the news these days, but none of these are new ideas. In its simple form, business intelligence is about connecting business decision-making to business data, facts about the business, and its environment to understand the data driven by your business so that you can make better business decisions. Until recently, business intelligence was only available at the highest organizational levels. The companies that created tools for enterprise business intelligence are large companies, SAP and Oracle, IBM, Microsoft, and so on. Large companies creating really large, really expensive tools. Enterprise business intelligence was the realm of IT professionals more than any other group of users. IT folks had to develop a great understanding of what was needed in the business so that they could get exactly the right data to create the reports that end users and business managers were requesting. So hours and even days were often spent interviewing business users so IT could create reports for the business. And there was often a gap between the reports that users wanted and the reports that IT was able to deliver. Really, the first alternative to enterprise business intelligence was Microsoft Excel, because Excel provided self-service. It allowed users to analyze data themselves on their own computers for the first time, even if they had to take it offline and use data from last month or last quarter. Excel is a popular business tool precisely because so many people learned Excel to be able to get a better handle on their business, on the data in their department or in their functional area. And Excel was, for many of us, our first step into business intelligence for consumers. The very first version of Power BI was built almost totally in Excel. Microsoft has continued to evolve Power BI, however, and Power BI now is a tool set that is not Excel-centric. As we begin, let's have some core understandings of what consumers do with Power BI. Power BI consumers usually begin by opening an app that was created by a Power BI designer. The app will include a data model created from one or more data sets. It can include organizational data from your company's various enterprise systems, sales, fulfillment, membership, whatever systems you have. But it can also include data from external sources. The app then will also include reports that illustrate data in the model. And don't think of reports as simply rows and rows of figures and labels. With funnel charts, tree maps, geospatial maps, slicers, and Q&A, reports in Power BI can be both informative and beautiful. And most apps also include dashboards, which provide a summary view using visualizations from one or more reports. As Power BI consumers, we'll be able to sort and filter and modify reports and dashboards to garner more information from the data. Power BI Service, also known as PowerBI.com, Cloud Power BI, or simply referred to as Power BI, is the only tool that we will need for this course. The Power BI service allows users to manipulate visualizations to do that deeper analysis of business information. Power BI consumers are also the primary users of Power BI mobile apps. There are other components to Power BI, and I'd like to mention one. Power BI designers, data modelers, and business analysts also use Power BI Desktop, which allows designers to create the data models, reports, and dashboards for us to use. For Power BI consumers, the wins provided by Power BI include instant access to data in real time, the ability to visualize data in different ways, and finally, the ability to understand the business at a deeper level. In this video, we're going to sign up for Power BI. If your organization has already signed you up, or if you have, you can skip to the next video if you wish. Open your browser and go to PowerBI.com, and it will take you to a page like this. Not necessarily this page, it changes all the time. There's an opportunity here to try free. And you'll do this if you don't have an organizational account right now. And you'll end up on this try free page and click try free again, and you'll be redirected to a sign up page. You're prompted here to enter your work email address. This can also be a school email address if you wish, an address ending in .com or .edu. Let me show you what happens if I use an address that wouldn't be a valid address. For example, If I enter a Gmail address, for example, or a Hotmail address, what I'll get back is, that looks like a personal email address. Enter your work address so we can connect you with others in your company. And don't worry, we won't share your address with anyone. So I'm going to log in using my work email address and click sign up. And in this case, I'm told you're already using this address with another Microsoft service. To finish signing up for Power BI, simply sign in with your existing password. Now, if I don't have any other Microsoft services, then I'll need to provide more information because I'm creating a new account for use with Power BI. So whether you simply need to provide a password, or if you need to also enter your name and other information on the next page, you'll be signing into Power BI. One more thought here. Perhaps right now you don't have an organizational email address, or you're not allowed to use that address to set up an account and work along with me. You can go to office.microsoft.com and set up a free trial for Microsoft Office 365. And if you do that, you'll have an address that ends with the domain onmicrosoft.com. That address is a valid work address for you to use here with Power BI. I'm going to click sign in at this point, and I will log in and provide my password as I was asked to do. If you're prompted, do you want to stay logged in? That's a good idea if you don't want to be prompted more than you would be normally. It reminds me again, I already have a license. I click OK, got it. And in a moment, I will end up in Power BI. That's all there is to signing up for Power BI. Once you have an account in Power BI, it's easy enough to sign in. Simply go to powerbi.com and you'll end up on the Power BI page. Now, if you were already working, for example, in Microsoft Teams, you could click the app launcher or waffle in the upper left-hand corner, go to your apps list and choose Power BI. Simply click sign in. Now, if you were already signed into a Microsoft application, you would end up simply needing to choose your account and enter your password. You only need to do this typically the first time you sign in to Power BI on a particular device. And you're asked if you want to stay signed in, and I'm going to say yes. And this is what happens the first time you sign into Power BI as a brand new user. I'm logged in as Charles because Charles has never used Power BI before, so his experience and yours are going to be very similar. It welcomes you based on the time in your time zone, welcomes you to Power BI Home, which is at where we are right here. And if I were to simply close Power BI and log in again, as I would the next time I logged in, and click sign in, I will be taken directly to Power BI. This is the Power BI user interface. I want to start by noting that there's a new look for Power BI and it's turned off here, and I'm actually going to turn it on so that we're going to have access to the latest looks for Microsoft Power BI. And I'm going to give that a minute to load the new look. It looks a little bit cleaner, more white space, looks nice. And at this point now, that button is gone because we're working in the latest feature set in Power BI. On the left-hand side, we have a navigation pane. If you want to collapse it back to just its icons, you click this button at the top and it gives you a little bit more space here on the screen. This divider between the navigation pane and the rest of the screen is adjustable. You can drag it at least a little bit if you wish. This is the home page for Power BI, and it shows you places where you can work. So for example, Charles might have access to all of these other workspaces that he is a member of. They could be workspaces in SharePoint, or they could be workspaces in Yammer, different places that he could work in Power BI. Below this, if you scroll down, you have a list of apps that are recommended that were created, some within our organization. These first two, some samples provided by Microsoft. Past that, some help on how to use Power BI. Continuing with the rest of the navigation pane, we have favorites. This is where you will put things that you like to work with all in one place. Items you've used recently, we don't have any, Charles just got here. Different apps, items that have been shared with you, and if you're logging into an organization that has already created apps and shared them with you, and you click shared with me, you might find some items that are here. Right now, no content. That list of workspaces again, and then finally what Charles has in his workspace, which right now is nothing. We're just beginning. To be able to do more with Power BI, we actually have to get something to work with. And I want to show you a couple of ways that you can do that. If I want to use one of these recommended apps, I can simply click on the app to open it. If not, I will click Get Data, and most of the information you will work with will most likely be here in my organization, apps that were published by other people. If you click Get, you'll see an organizational app here that you can click on, and it will load it. It'll give you some more information first so that you're making sure that this is indeed the app that you want. But once it has provided this additional information for you, and you've verified that this is the information you want for reports and dashboards for this period of time, you simply click Get It Now to load it. And you may have organizational apps. I need to work with something that I know all of us have, so we're actually going to work with a sample app. There are a number of them. If you scroll down just a little bit more on the Get Data page, you'll see samples, and these are the samples that are built in. So we have customer profitability, human resources, and if you wanted to explore any of these, if you work in HR, for example, human resources sample is a good place to start. If you work in procurement or sourcing, you might appreciate the procurement analysis sample, but we are going to work with the sales and marketing sample, which is found not only here, but if I go back to my home page, was being offered up to us right here, Microsoft sample, sales and marketing. I'm going to click to open up this sample, and it's going to behave just like the last sample did. It will provide us with a little bit more information. It tells us that this is data on a fictitious marketing company, and will let us see how we can work with Power BI. And I'm simply going to click Get It Now to load this sample data that we will be working with in this course. This tells me I need a Power BI Pro license, and I can either try it free for 60 days or I can upgrade today. We're going to start a free Power BI Pro trial for Charles. And as you get close to the end of the 60 days, you can sometimes get that extended as well. This is a separate application. You're asked if you want to install it, and the app will install, and I'll see you in the next movie. Our sales and marketing sample app has been loaded, and we're going to use this to learn about dashboards and reports, tiles, and visualizations. I'm going to simply click, and my choice on the left is Explore with Sample Data. This particular app really includes two different pieces of functionality, and both of them will be installed. On the left side, Explore with Sample Data is really the Power BI for consumers experience, and that's what we'll be working with. However, loading this app is also going to install a workspace, and that's why we had to upgrade to a Pro account to get this app. Even though a workspace is going to be created, we won't be using it because that's really the Power BI designer's experience. When this app opens, it was designed to open in this dashboard. The dashboard provides information about specific things that the designer thought we might want to know about. This is a marketing and sales app that was created by someone who is comparing 4 different companies: Van Arsdale, Natura, Aliqui, and Pirum. So when we take a look, for example, at this chart, we can see those 4 companies listed here. And they've been very consistent in the design. Every time we see this teal color, it's Van Arsdale. Every time we see the red color being used in a chart like this, it's Purim. This dashboard is composed of tiles. A tile for total category volume, tile for total units by segment, total units year to date. If you scroll down or you use the horizontal scroll bar, you'll notice that this dashboard is larger than the screen itself. If you hover over a column in a column chart, for example, a specific data point, more information is provided so you can see specific information. And if you simply click on a data point, you're taken to the report that particular tile comes from. So here is total units by segment. What was a tile in the dashboard is called a visualization here in the report. This visualization is one of 3 on this page of the report, because this is a multi-page report, a page for market share, one for year-to-date category trend analysis, one for sentiment analysis, growth opportunities, details, and finally there's an info page here at the end. I'm going to pause over details because it takes a second longer to load. And so the report was created, and each time we see an illustration in this report, it's called a visualization. But then ultimately, the designer for this report then chose particular visualizations to place as tiles on the dashboard. So if we go back to our dashboard, the back button will take us there in a single click. What we're seeing come from different pages of that report. If I click then on another tile, it will take me again to the appropriate page of the report where that particular information comes from. If I want to simply go to the report, I can also point to any tile, click the More button, and choose Go to Report, and it will take me to the report in exactly the same way. What we have then in this application is a report that was created, composed of visualizations and organized in pages. Particular visualizations from these reports then were added to a dashboard as tiles. The same information, just a different name for a different type of artifact. It helps us keep it straight when we're talking about it, that it's a tile, or if I talk about tiles, I'm in a dashboard. If I'm talking about visualizations, I'm in a report. And then sitting underneath all of it that we don't actually have direct access to is a data model composed of one or more data sets that provide this information that was used to build the report and used to build the dashboard. You can ask questions about your data using Power BI Q&A both in dashboards and reports. So if I wanted to know something about my data that wasn't here, for example, I have information here on total units year to date by manufacturer and region, but maybe I would just like to know total units year to date by region. So I click in Ask a Question, and I'm taken to the Q&A page. Now, there are lots of choices here about what I might want to ask. There are suggestions, and I can show them all. Right now, it looks like there are 10 different suggestions. What is the average of score by region? Total rolling period start. But what I actually wanted to know is total units, and automatically Power BI is trying to fill in information for me. I say produce and it puts a double underline on it, doesn't know what I mean. So let's try some other terms for produce. I'm not sure what you mean. It even says manufactured. It understands manufactured because it underlined it by region. There's my chart. So by doing this, I can create an entirely new visualization so that I can get the information that I would like to have. So let's try instead by manufacturer. It says total units manufactured by manufacturer name. Okay, that's cool. Let's see if that gives us what we would like. Here are all of these different manufacturers, including some that aren't being shown on the dashboard. But every manufacturer that's listed in the data source and the total number of units that they manufactured. So I could say total units manufactured by manufacturer name and year. Let's try date year. It seems to like date year. That looks good. So access to more information, other companies that weren't already listed, and every year the total number of units manufactured is being provided here. You can see why the person who designed the reports and dashboards might have said, I actually don't want to look at all these companies. I only want to look at the ones that are our closest competitors. So I'm going to simply return to total units manufactured, and the choice that's being made of a visualization for me by Power BI is that it wants to show me simply a number on a tile. But if I include by manufacturer name, then it wants to show me a bar chart. I'm going to say, actually, I want it in a column chart. And note that now I have all of these other options. I can say in a column chart. Perhaps I want to see it in a table. We'll talk more about all of these different choices, but there's the same data provided in a table. If I wish I can pin this visual, I'm going to delete in a table. And based on the data, then Power BI will use the visualization that it thinks is best. And if I had designed this dashboard, then I could pin this visual to the dashboard, but I didn't. This is actually a way that our dashboard designers and report designers create visualizations. If I try, I'll be reminded that I didn't create it, that this is a read-only dashboard or report. But the fact that I can't pin it doesn't reduce its value. I can create the visualizations I want in Power BI Q&A. We're going to focus now on what we can do with the dashboard in the Marketing and Sales app so that we will know how to work with all of the dashboards that are being shared with us. The entire toolbar set is across the top, and we're going to work with the tools that are available to us on the right-hand side first. If I click Enter Full Screen Mode, all of the Chrome on my desktop and in the browser will be removed so that all I see is my dashboard. There's a toolbar associated with it. It goes away when I don't hover over it, but it's in the bottom corner on the right. If I go back, this is like the browser back. It won't take me back out of full screen. It will take me to the last browser page I was in. If I want to be able to have my entire dashboard fit on the screen, I click the Fit to Screen button right here, and it shrinks by whatever dimensions it needs to so that I can see it all. If I want to see it at width, I click the Fit to Width button, but that usually means that I'll have to scroll up and down, but at least I don't have to also scroll side to side, so that's a win for me. To the left, I have a Print button. I'm in a browser, so when I print, I'm going to be using the dialog and the features of whatever browser I'm in. In this case, the last time I printed, I was printing in black and white in landscape mode, but it's just as likely that I was printing in portrait mode, and if I do, notice that my dashboard's cut off. When you print from Power BI, you have to actually pay attention to layout to make sure that you're choosing landscape layout, and if I want to print in color, I'll switch to color, but then I'll have a pretty nice looking print page. It says it's 2 pages long, but it really isn't, so just print 1 page, click Print to Print. There's another place I can print from, and I'm going to show it to you right now because as soon as I chose to print, I was taken back out of the full screen mode that I was in previously. But there is a print button here as well. It's called Export, because if I choose Export, in this particular case, all I can do is print the dashboard, and it will take me to the same print dialog box. I'm going to go back into full screen mode though, because the way I'll normally leave if I'm not printing is either by hitting Escape or by clicking the Exit Full Screen Mode button, and it brings me back. The next button allows me to mark this dashboard as a favorite, and that means that if I go to my favorites list, which right now is empty, I'll have something on it. So I'm going to mark this as a favorite, and now when I go to my favorites list, it's actually not just the dashboard in this case. The dashboard is packaged with an app, so the sales and marketing sample is now one of my favorites. The third command here is the ability to edit the app, and as a consumer, I don't really have a lot of ability to edit in the app. I can update it if I wish. I can view its settings, but you will usually not have access to those choices for apps that you're working in. I'm just going to go back and return to my dashboard. And then finally on the right-hand side, I can view the content list that's in this app. A dashboard called Marketing and Sales that we've been working in, a data set, and a report. All of them are immediately available here. So if I click Marketing and Sales, for example, it will take me back into my dashboard. If I click Sales and Marketing Sample PBX, it will take me to the report that I saw previously. And the report will always tell me the date that it was last updated. I'm going to go back home, open my Sales and Marketing Sample, and I'm back in my dashboard. Power BI has a subscription service that allows you to tell Power BI to send you a snapshot of a dashboard on a basis that you specify. To subscribe to a dashboard, you open the dashboard, click the subscribe button, the icon like an envelope, and add a new subscription. If you want to send a dashboard yourself right now, click Run Now. But it's better if you add some additional information. Provide a subject for your email, and I usually put subscription right at the start, and then Marketing and Sales Dashboard. The reason you're allowed to set this subject yourself is there might be 5 or 6 different marketing and sales dashboards that you want to subscribe to. And this allows you to be very clear about what it is. You can also include an optional message. And if you're a Power BI consumer, you normally can't subscribe anyone other than yourself to a dashboard at this point in time. And then you set the frequency. Daily after a data refresh, hourly, daily, weekly, and I'm going to say I'd like to receive this dashboard weekly on Tuesdays at 10 o'clock in the morning. That will start today and never, and the email that I will receive will include a link to the dashboard in Power BI. So I get an email with the subject I specified, and it has a link so I can come right back to this dashboard. If there's anything I see in the snapshot that makes me think it would be a good idea for me to come here and check. After I save and close, I can expect that next Tuesday I'll get an email. If I want to modify my subscriptions, I go to the dashboard, click subscribe, and manage my subscriptions. That takes me to another page in Power BI that lists all my subscriptions and allows me to edit them if I wish. And perhaps if I don't want to have updates for a while, I can turn that subscription off, or I can delete the subscription. It's up to me. I can add a comment to a dashboard to start a conversation about the dashboard. I can also add a comment to a specific tile on a dashboard. To comment on a dashboard in general, we use this comments button right here. It will open a comments pane on the right-hand side. And previously, I actually entered a comment that says Great Dashboard, and it's right here. So if I click on the comments button, I see every comment that's ever been added, but I can also add a new comment here. And if I want someone in particular to pay attention to something about the dashboard, I can mention them by using the @ sign. If I wanted to have Robert Molina view this dashboard and give me his thoughts, I could type @Robert, and hopefully it will find him in a minute. There we go, and I can hit tab. What are your thoughts about this dashboard? Is it what you were hoping for. And I'm going to post that. And then I can close this. So these are the general dashboard comments. But if I wanted to have a comment about a particular tile, I'm going to do that a little differently. So if I wanted to look, for example, at total units, and I really have a question about why in November our total units were so much higher. Perhaps we were anticipating a fall off in manufacturing in December, I'm not sure, but I'm going to put a comment right here on this tile. So I'm clicking the menu button in the upper right corner, choosing add a comment, and then I'm going to ask Robert, who also knows this, or hopefully will, and I can type a little bit more of his name. Why was manufacturing so high in November 2014? Now, if I mention him, he will be notified, and that will draw his attention to this particular dashboard. So it's not just starting a conversation. If you want particular people engaged in the conversation, make sure that you go out of your way to mention them so that you actually have their attention focused here. So comments for a particular tile, comments for the entire dashboard. And if I make a comment on a tile, you can tell because there's a comment icon at the top that indicates that there are comments, and you can click to see and or join into the conversation on this tile. If your organization uses Microsoft Teams, then there's a new feature in Power BI that I think you're going to appreciate. I can share either an entire dashboard or a tile with Teams, and it's really like sharing something on Facebook. I'm sharing a link and I have the opportunity to provide some context for it. If I want to share the entire dashboard, I'll click the Share to Teams button. If I want to share a tile, I'll open the More Options on the upper right-hand corner of the tile and choose Share to Teams. I'm going to share the entire dashboard. Sometimes the first time I try this, it spins around for a bit, and if that's the case, just click this Try Opening in a New Window link. I need to know the name of the team or the channel, so I can start by typing the name of the team and then choose the channel, Sales and Marketing, or I can type the name of the channel itself. So I'm going to put this in the Sales and Marketing channel in Connecticut. You actually are sharing two Microsoft Teams in a specific channel. And I'm going to say, please review the dashboard for our meeting on Friday. That's it. Click Share, and I'm going to swing over to Microsoft Teams. It actually already got there. Here I am in Sales and Marketing, and there's the link. And if I click this, it's going to take me right back to the dashboard. It's reopening it. It doesn't take me to the same window because it's a link, and it's going to take me to the dashboard in Power BI. You really can't make this much easier for the folks in your organization if you're working in teams. I'm going to show you this in a slightly different fashion by sharing a tile. The total units tile from this dashboard, Share to Teams. And I need to search for a team or channel. And I'm going to also share this to Sales and Marketing and just put some text so that you know it works. Click Share. Swing over to Teams, and when our user clicks this link, the dashboard's going to load, and they're taken directly to this tile, and the others you'll notice are sort of dimmed out so that this tile stands out. So you can focus your team on a particular tile or on an entire dashboard from Power BI. There are some other things that I can do specifically with tiles. For example, if I want to include a particular tile in a report, like the total units year-to-date variance percentage, I can copy this image as a visual, and I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. Now I'm going to toggle over to Microsoft Word, and I'm going to paste this image. That looks really good, but it has some other things going for it. It actually has a link that will allow me to open this in Power BI right from Microsoft Word. Again, the reader has to have a license for Power BI, but if they do, they can simply click here and open Power BI in a browser and view this tile. Just as you can go to full screen mode to be able to view a dashboard more clearly, you can take a tile into full screen mode. It's got a slightly different name. If I point to the upper right corner of the tile and click the More Options button, my choice is to open this tile in focus mode. And if I open it in focus mode, then I get to see just the tile by itself, which is pretty exciting. I also get to see the filters that are assigned to this particular tile. So I can tell that some of the companies have been left out. If I want to clear that particular filter, it becomes really clear why I would want to have that filter on, because there are so many companies, but then I can go back and I can modify this filter again. Nothing I do here, though, is going to actually change the tile that is displayed in the dashboard, but I do have the opportunity here then to rebuild the tile and learn some specific things about it. That's kind of cool. If I want to choose a different region, I can do that. Any of these filters are available to me to modify. I can change the year to a different year. If I want to collapse the filter pane to have more space, I can. But when I exit focus mode and return, my tile is the same tile that I had before I went into focus mode. If I wanted to export the data from this tile, I can. It's a choice over here. And the data is exported to Microsoft Excel, and you can then open that file. Here's all of the underlying data that's in that visualization. And when I return, again, my dashboard isn't changed at all, even if I modify the filters while I'm working in focus mode. There are a lot of different tile visualizations being used here. So I have line charts, I have column charts, bar charts, tree maps, different types of visualizations that we'll learn more about when we talk about reports, where we actually can modify the type of visualization being used. But there are three types of visualizations for which you can set alerts. And those are key performance indicators, or KPIs, gauges, and then this type of visualization. We have a number of them right here on the page. If I wanted to set an alert for total category volume, to say if the volume goes over 55,000, I'd like to be informed, then what you do is you click the More Options button and you choose Manage Alerts and set an alert rule. And note that the alert is being set on this particular tile because that's where I started from. The alert title is Alert for Total Category Volume, and I'm going to say that if this goes above 55,000, I would like to be notified at most every 24 hours or at most once an hour. You get to choose between those two options, and you can also choose to be sent an email also when the notification is sent. The notification is sent using the Microsoft Notification Center. So if you have the notifications on your mobile phone, you'll receive a message there. You'll also see a notification here on the tile itself on the dashboard in the upper left-hand corner. Only you will see this, and actually even the person who designed this dashboard doesn't see that you have an alert set. But note that alerts are only going to be sent if your data changes. In this case, I have an unchanging data set, so I don't really have a way to show you how the notification is going to appear. But in a data set that changes, if you have KPIs, gauges, or this text card, you can set an alert. Later, you can manage it by deleting it or by turning it off. And you manage that alert by going back to the tile where you created it, choosing Manage Alerts, and then manage it here. There's one more tool that's specific to dashboards and to your tiles, and that's the ability to get quick insights. If I'd like to get insights about my data, if I'm here in the dashboard, I go to View Insights, and Power BI will search for insights in the data that sits underneath this particular visualization, this particular dashboard tile. And it will present those insights as visualizations. So you can view them, scroll them, potentially learn more about your data. And even though there is a pin button, this is read-only data. So when I click, I'm not allowed to pin data from a read-only report or dashboard anywhere else in Power BI. So I can't put this anywhere. I can, however, potentially learn something about my data that's not already being provided for me in this tile or this dashboard. The dashboards that are contained in apps are really contained. I don't have the ability to make them featured dashboards, but I can make a dashboard featured if it was shared with me individually. Let's talk a little bit about how content is shared with Power BI consumers, and then I'll show you how you can set a featured dashboard. Content designers have several different ways that they can share content. One way that we've been working with is to create a Power BI app. And if they do that, the data sets, the dashboards, and the reports are all bundled together. It's an easy to manage package, not only for consumers, but also for designers. But a designer could also send a link to the content. They could send you a link by email that you could click, and it would take you directly to a particular report or a particular dashboard, or they can share a link to a dashboard or report. So where do you find the content that's not content in apps? Well, you'll find it in Shared with Me. And if you have content that has been shared with you other than an app, then you'll be able to work along with me for the rest of this movie. If not, just watch, because eventually as a Power BI consumer, some designer will share content with you in this fashion. Note that you have a search box here and you can search for specific content. We also have a set of filters. So this is everything that's shared. This is information from sales and marketing that's shared. And this is data that was shared by me. I'm the owner and I shared it with Charles. I shared one dashboard, the HR dashboard, and I shared one report, the Human Resources Sample Report. So Charles can just open this dashboard just like this. He also received a link in Outlook when I shared this with him, so he didn't have to know it was here. He was notified with an email and a link because we're trying to create a dashboard that will work for him. And because this is a standalone dashboard as opposed to a dashboard wrapped up in an application, he can do a couple of other things with this dashboard. For one thing, he can favorite it. And you might think, well, didn't we favorite a dashboard earlier? Yes, but not really. Because that dashboard was bundled in the app, we ended up favoriting the entire sales and marketing sample app when we favorited that dashboard. But in this case, we're favoriting a dashboard that is only a dashboard. And that means that it really is added to favorites. If I go to my list of favorites, the dashboard is listed all by itself. The other thing you can do is if you have a dashboard whose tiles you want to see immediately when you log into Power BI, then what you do is you set that as your featured dashboard. And again, you can't do this if it's already bundled up. But if I choose Set as Featured, click Set as Featured Dashboard, then when I go to the home screen, when I log into Power BI, that dashboard will appear right here. Now, if you just tried this, it may not appear immediately. It might take 5 or 10 minutes to get here. But there may be some delay in you seeing the dashboard until the next time that Power BI is synchronizing, usually a matter of 20 minutes or less. But here are the 3 tiles from that dashboard so that I can see them. And if I want to drop right into the dashboard from my home screen, it's so very easy to do that. So this is how a featured dashboard works in Power BI. If I want to change my mind about that dashboard being featured, I simply go back and disable it as my featured dashboard. So a couple of different actions that I can take on a dashboard that is shared with me rather than a dashboard that is bundled as part of my application. As we begin talking about reports, I'd like to compare dashboards with reports for you. In Power BI, a dashboard, as we've seen, is just one page, but that page can include tiles from multiple data sets. Even though we can take a particular tile and apply a filter temporarily, we can't cross-filter, we can't have one tile filter another, and we have no ability to slice in a dashboard. We can set alerts, and we can set a dashboard as featured. So these are attributes of dashboards that are different than reports, because when we look at a report, reports can have one page, but they can have many pages as well. Each report, however, is based on one and only one data set. So the way designers create dashboards is they create different reports and then pin visualizations from 2 or 3 reports based on 2 or 3 data sets into the same dashboard. That's how we get multiple data sets in a dashboard. One of the things you're going to love about reports is how cross-filtering, cross-highlighting, and slicing work in reports. It's a very active and rich environment. We give up a couple of things though. We can't set an alert on a report, and we can't have a featured report. We can only have featured dashboards. Although I've compared and contrasted dashboards and reports, they're all part of one process. And we really started at the end of the process when we started with dashboards. Because what we start with is data in a data set, and some section of that data is then used to create a visualization on a report. Visualizations from one or more reports then are pinned to create a summary or consolidated view, and each of those visualizations from a report is pinned to a dashboard and it becomes a tile. Let's continue. We've been working with dashboards, now we move to reports, and there are different ways to open a report. If you are working with a dashboard in an app, the way you open a report is to go through one of the tiles. So for example, I can click on this tile and choose Go to Report, and it will take me to the report. Here we have a 6-page report. My page list is right here. Market share, YTD, category, sentiment, growth opportunities, details, and info. And I got there by clicking on any of the tiles that come from this report. Now, in some dashboards, you have data that comes from different reports. So if I click on one tile, it might take me to this report. A different tile would take me to another report. This is a great way to get back and forth between reports and dashboards. And I can click back here in my trail of breadcrumbs to go back to the dashboard. Occasionally, you will have a tile that Go to Report isn't an option because designers can create tiles using Q&A, and those don't go back to a particular report. I don't even need to go to the menu though. I can just click on the tile itself and I will drop right into the report that tile was pinned from. Another choice that I have is to open a report that was shared with me directly. So go to Shared with Me, and if you have a report here that has been shared with you, you can open it from here. I shared a report with Charles, and this is what the report looks like. In the same way that he was able to open a dashboard that I shared with him, he can open a report that I shared with him. Other ways that you might open a report would be to open a report from a link, as you would open a dashboard from a particular link. I'm going to return though to my apps and go through my dashboard to get to my report. In my report then, I have some specific features. I have a Pages pane, and I can close that. To reopen it, I click right here. But notice that I get a lot more space as soon as I clear the Pages pane. And I have a list of filters on the right side that shows me what's being filtered. And to get even more space, I can hide that filters pane, and now all of my visualizations are larger, and that makes me happy. If I want to navigate to a different page though, I actually need to open up that Pages pane again, but then I can close it. And some of these visualizations will be familiar. 3 of the visualizations on this particular page are also pinned to the dashboard in this app. If I want to see what filters are applied on any page, I can open the filters pane. And here we see that this entire page is being filtered by year and filtered by region. These are the page filters that appear here. We can also have filters that are applied to all of the pages, a report filter, so to speak, filtered on all pages. Right now, there are no filters. The date is all. But it is possible to filter an entire report, to create a report just for the central region or just for a specific year. Reports have some view options. I can choose to take a report into full screen, just like I could a dashboard, and hit escape to exit full screen and drop back. I can fit this to the page. I can fit it to the width. I can view it actual size, which means that I'll be using my scroll bars here. And finally, I have a choice for high contrast colors, which are designed for folks who have visual challenges to make these easier to see because there's a lot packed in here. This application's data doesn't change, but if I were viewing a report that was connected to a specific data source that was changing, then my report would be being updated all the time I was using it. The visualizations here in a report are sortable. So for example, if I go to year-to-date category, and let's change our view so that we're seeing this in full screen, and I have total units by month and manufacturer. If I click on my More Options button, one of my choices is to sort these in descending order or to sort in ascending order. Now in this case, those choices are grayed out because it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's nothing really here to sort. But if I go to my details page where I have a matrix and I click on the More Options button, I have the ability to sort in ascending or sort in descending order. I can also click in a column and sort there as well. So if I click the arrow here on product, note that I now have my products in order. And I can choose to sort, for example, by manufacturer. So I'm going to sort by manufacturer, and now Abbas manufacturer is at the top. I have buttons so that I can collapse or expand each of the manufacturers and view more or less. So when I have this type of a matrix, I have the ability to focus, for example, on one particular manufacturer by exposing their level of detail and collapse the others. So I can choose to sort, and I can choose a sort by field. I'm going to return to my report. Click Go Back down here at the bottom. Escape back into my regular view. And if I go take a look at that details page, the modifications that I made are still here right now. And they'll remain here. I really have my own set of views of this report. So whatever modifications I make, I'm not affecting the underlying data. I'm not actually changing anything about it. But if I want to return to the original view that the designer intended, there's a button here that resets everything that I might have changed. All I need to do is click Reset and verify it. And now the design of the details page is what it was before I sorted anything. When you're working with the report as a Power BI consumer, you should feel really comfortable sorting and making other changes that we'll make, because you can always return to the report as designed by simply resetting it. I'm on the second page of my report in Sales and Marketing Sample. This is the year-to-date category page. On the right-hand side, I see information about filters. Filters for this page, filters for the entire report, which is filters on all pages. I want to win a little space back and not lose my filters pane. So I'm going to close the Pages panel, and I'm going to hide the navigation pane. And that makes all of my visualizations larger, which is what I was hoping to do. The first section of filters shows me that this page is being filtered by region and being filtered by year. Now, we already know how filters work broadly from our dashboards, which is if I want to erase or remove the filter for region, I simply click and it will clear, and now I'm seeing all regions. I'm not filtering by any region. I can also click the drop down, load the regions, and choose a different region. Now I'm filtering on the East region. And when I do that, that's clearly displayed here in the filters. It's not hard for me to tell. Just the West region. And notice that as I do this, the entire page is being filtered because the filter on the page is changing. In this particular report, there are no report-wide filters. If there were, they would be listed here. I'm going to return to the original central region, and if I wasn't sure, remember, I can always reset to the default and come back to exactly the report I had to start with, the report as designed. Now, it's possible to also have filters applied on a particular visualization. I'm going to click on this first visualization in the upper left corner, total units year to date. And when I do, I have a third filter list, filters on this visual. And this tells me there are no filters on this particular visual. Fair enough, that works. Now, let's introduce another level of filtering that is actually called cross-filtering or cross-highlighting, depending on which visuals are being used. So check this out. I'm going to click in this visual on the first company, Van Arsdale. And notice that when I do, the entire page changes. I'm using the very first visual to be able to filter the others. In total units by month and manufacturer, I now only have one line. I have one large map for market share by state, and in my total units year-to-date variance percent by month and manufacturer, Van Arsdale, and it might be a little hard for you to tell on the screen, but Van Arsdale is really highlighted. The other data is not missing, it's just not highlighted. Just as the data for the other three manufacturers appears in total units year-to-date by manufacturer and region. It didn't go away, it's just not highlighted anymore. If I click again, everything comes back. The same is true if I actually click on a particular state in the map. Here what I see is that everything is being filtered by this particular state, Minnesota. It doesn't show as a filter on this page. It doesn't even show as a filter on this particular visual. Click again, bring everything back. If I choose a particular line here and date, I'm filtering everything. Sometimes you'll have a page where you click on one of the visualizations and it doesn't cross-filter the other. That again is something that the designer can modify. They might want to make sure, for example, that if there's a particular visualization that they want to be able to compare the others to, that they wouldn't allow it. They would disconnect it from this kind of cross-filtering. But if you want to see this type of information highlighted, it's very easy to do. If I go to a different page, for example, market share, it's going to work here as well. Simply click to filter all of the visualizations on a page based on one visualization. If your report includes visualizations that are illustrating a hierarchy, you can drill down into those visualizations. We have one of those visualizations as a column chart in the growth opportunities page. So I'm going to hide my pages. I'm also going to kick my filters to the side. And the way I know that I can drill down into this particular visualization is when I point to it, I have extra icons. I have an arrow to drill up, to turn on, drill down, and to go to the next level in the hierarchy. So if I turn on drill down, then I can click on a particular segment and see the products that underlie that segment. I can also drill back up. I can simply choose to go to the next level in the hierarchy for all of the data and back up. And if I have more levels beyond that, I can continue drilling down. So if I had a chart of sales by year, I could drill down and then see sales by quarter, sales by month, and so on. And even though I began with total units by segments, this wasn't the top of the hierarchy. From here, I can actually go up and see total units by manufacturer and total units by category. So there are a lot of levels of information in this one simple visualization to be able to drop down level by level and back up again so that I can see additional information in the visualization. Remembering that every one of these visualizations is built directly on data from a common data set, if I want to see what the data is behind a particular visualization, I can easily do that. Point to the visualization, choose more options, and ask to show it as a table. You'll be taken into another view. The visualization is on top, and all of the data behind the visualization is displayed right here in a table. Same thing here. Total units by manufacturer, show it to me as a table. And there are the total units by manufacturer. Note also that I still have drill up and drill down available. So as I work my way through the different levels of the hierarchy, the table changes to reflect the information that I'm being shown in the visualization. That's pretty slick. And just as we could in a dashboard, I have the ability not just to show that information as a table, but to export the data. And if we export it, we will be exporting it to Microsoft Excel. I can choose either to see the data that's summarized in report or all of the underlying data. And I can choose an XLS file or a CSV file. Notice that if I have a lot of data, I'm better off choosing Excel because the maximum number of rows of data is 5 times as large. I'm simply going to choose the summarized data, click Export, and open the file. And I could then further analyze this data here in Microsoft Excel. We have one map visualization in our report. It appears on the second page, YTD category, and it is right here, percent units market share by state. I'm going to kick this into focus mode so that you can better see the level of detail in this map. The map is showing right now the central region, but if I wanted to erase that particular filter, I can see all of the regions using this map and all of the states. So clearly this is US only data. I'm going to return to my report, and now I'm actually seeing information from all of the regions because I haven't reset my report. If I wanted then to show total units by manufacturer and region for a particular state, I can click on that state, in this case, South Dakota or New York, and see just the percent units market share. Note, not by region, but by state. Michigan. You might wonder what the data looks like that sits underneath this particular visualization. Map visualizations work off different sets of geospatial data. This particular map is simply based on state abbreviations, the market share, and the abbreviation for the state. Pretty slick. Other types of geospatial data that you can use in a map might include zip codes or postal codes, and city-state combinations, as well as complete addresses that include a street address, city and state, and a city and state or province, and a zip or postal code. Even though this was set up to filter by region, simply by switching the map slightly, I can filter by any state in the country. And the original map, if I reset back to my default, allows me to filter based on state as well. And when I do, the map changes to say market share by state. As you might have noticed, we have some of the same tools available here that we have in our dashboards. For example, I have the ability to export to print. I have the ability to subscribe to a report. And I can comment on a report or on a particular visualization. Comment on an entire report, simply click comments and then leave your comments here. If I want to comment though on a particular visualization, I go to the visualization, click the More Options button, and add a comment. Whatever I wish to add. I wouldn't bother to add this, but I'm going to simply type nice visualization and post it as the start of a conversation. And if you point to this visualization, it shows that it has a comment or a visual conversation. There are also some other tools, though, that we don't have access to in a dashboard. One of those tools is the ability to spotlight a particular visualization. For example, if I wanted to highlight total category volume by segment, I can click the More Options button and I can choose to spotlight it. What Spotlight does isn't shine a spotlight on this particular visualization. It obscures the rest of them so that this one stands out, and that's kind of cool. When I'm all done, I can turn the spotlight back off. This particular visualization has two tabs, one for market share year-to-year change and one for the 12-month rolling average. And if I choose one of the tabs, I can then spotlight this visualization, but I'm also spotlighting that specific tab. If I go to another page, come back, my spotlight's turned off. So what if I wanted to save that particular view with that spotlight? What I'll do then is set up the view with the spotlight and click Bookmark and add a personal bookmark to capture this report's current state. And I'm just going to call this Spot On. I can make it the default view, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to reset everything. So now I'm going to change to another page, and I'm going to go to my bookmarks and say I'd like to show Spot On, and it will take me back to exactly where I was and how I had set up this page. I'm not creating this view for other people. This is a personal view only for myself, saved as a bookmark. Like dashboards, my reports in Power BI can be shared to Microsoft Teams, and I can share specific visualizations to Microsoft Teams. Simply choose Share to Teams, choose your channel, and share. And in Teams, what we'll have is a link that will bring members of that team back to the specific visualization or to the report as a whole. But there are more ways that I can take a report and share it with others. And one of those is to print it as a PDF, and the other is to print to PowerPoint. If I print my report as a PDF, then I'm going to be using an export. I can use either the default values or the current values. In other words, the report is designed or the report as I have modified it. And if there are hidden report tabs, by default they're excluded. I'm going to export this to a PDF, and it says it might take a few minutes, and it does take a little bit of time. When the PDF has been generated and I open it, we can check it out and see what it looks like. That really looks pretty good. There's pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I wanted to print this on paper for users, this would be a great way to do it, to print it first as a PDF. Another choice is to send this to PowerPoint, and this is pretty cool. So I'm going to click the Export button, choose PowerPoint, and again, the same choices. Current values or default values, exclude hidden tabs, and click Export. And it typically takes a little bit longer to export to PowerPoint than it did to export it to a PDF. Certainly not enough time to go have a meal, but enough time to think about having a meal. When your PowerPoint file is ready for download, you're notified, and I'm going to open this and show you what it looks like. Sales and marketing sample view in Power BI. So here's a link that takes us right back to Power BI. And here are the pages of my report. Pretty nice. There are other features that are common to both dashboards and reports. For example, the pages of my report have Q&A available as well. It's just a little more subtle. I can click the Q&A button. It looks sort of like a chat button in the upper right-hand corner, and that will open Q&A so that I can ask a related question. Top geostates by total units year to date, because it states, might give me a map, but might also give me a column chart. And remember that I can always choose to change and say I'd like to actually see this as a map and name a different type of visualization. In this case, a map where the size of the bubble indicates the size of the total units year to date. Or I could choose to see this as a table. The same type of functionality that is available in Q&A when I am working with a dashboard. And remember that you can also make any modifications that you wish to the report, for example, to drill up in a report, and then save that particular view as a bookmark so that you can return to this version of the report. Add a personal bookmark. And again, you're creating a personal view, which you could choose to make your default view. I can also export my data to be able to analyze it in Excel. But as with dashboards, there are things that I can't do with a report that is bundled in an app, but I can do with a report that was shared with me. So I'm going to go to shared with me, and if you have any reports that have been shared with you, you can work along, or if not, simply watch. This will be pretty quick. I'm going to open a report that I sent to Charles, and I can then reshare this report. Now, I can't necessarily share every single report that was shared with me. That's really up to the designer whether I can reshare. But in this case, if I click the share button, it allows me to share it with users with Power BI Pro, and I can then grant access to them. So, for example, I can share this with Rob Molina, include an optional message. I wasn't allowed to build new content on the underlying data set, so I can't allow Rob to either. I was allowed to share the report, and if I don't want Rob to share it further, I can turn that off. If I want to include any changes I made, I simply turn on Include My Changes. So the time that I've invested modifying this report, making changes to the data sets by applying filters, for example, changing the sort order, all of those changes that I made, I can now share with Rob. I'll simply click share and pass this along to him. And he will see this report when he opens Power BI in the shared with me list, but because I'm sending him a link, he can also simply open it from the link that he will receive. All of the work that we've been doing with Power BI has been done here in the Power BI service in a browser. But I can also download a mobile app for Power BI. You can either go here to the menu button that is directly to the left of your profile. There are some other things to look at here. For example, how many days are left on your trial if you have one, or other information about your license, notifications if you have any, settings that you can modify, and the ability to download. So if I choose download Power BI for mobile, I can ask to be sent a download link. And an email will be sent to you with a link to download the app. But the other way to download this is simply to go to the same place that you download apps for your phone now. For example, if you have an iPhone, on your iPhone, go to the App Store. Or you can go to Google Play on an Android device and install Microsoft Power BI for use on your mobile device. When you log in the first time, you're asked to enter your work email address. This is the same email address that you used to log into Power BI. Make sure it's right, click sign in. And you know the drill, you'll then have to enter your password or authenticate in whatever other way you authenticate. And click sign in. And here comes Power BI. You're asked if you want to share your usage and performance information to help Microsoft improve the experience. Make your choice on that and click continue. And there's a brief introduction, just 3 screens, your business data on the go, view reports, add comments, and share important data insights from anywhere. Use the home page for quick access to your most visited content and stay connected. There's a Let's Go link then. You just click Let's Go in the lower right-hand corner, and here we are in Power BI on our mobile device. So here we are in our application, and let's just do a quick tour. We have 2 tabs here. We have Activity, that shows me items that have happened lately, and Quick Access. Upper right, we have Notifications and Search. In the center of the screen, first we have content we've used frequently, and below that, content we've used recently. Across the bottom, we have Home, which brings us back here, Favorites, and if you use the mobile app, this is reason enough to declare favorites when you're working in Power BI because it's so easy then to get to these. Our apps, Workspaces, a More button that lets us get to recents, items that were shared with me, samples. So lots of the same functionality in this mobile app that I see in the Power BI service in a browser. I'm going to drop into the sales and marketing sample. The person who designed this app made a choice about which of the tiles they wanted to include and in what order for a mobile view. But if I turn my phone sideways, then I'm going to get a view that is a lot more like the view that I would see in Power BI in a browser. I have a full screen button, a favorites button, a search button at the top. Across the bottom, I have comments, Q&A, and Siri. If I want to be able to tell Siri to come to this particular screen in the app, I can do that. Add a custom phrase Siri can use to tell Power BI to run this shortcut. That's all the harder it is in a mobile device to be able to fire up some basic speech commands for Power BI. Now, what if I want to go to a report? You know how to do that from here. Normally when I click on a tile, I end up in the report, but in the mobile version of the app, the first tap is going to take me to a focused view of this particular tile. But down below, I have 3 different possibilities. Look at the comments, open the report, or annotate. And I'm going to click Open Report to open the report. We can also view our reports here in the Power BI mobile app. To go to a report from a dashboard, tap once to drop into the tile in focus mode, and then hit the Open Report button at the bottom of the screen. And I didn't turn my phone that fast. This is actually being loaded in landscape mode. This is page 1 of a 6-page report. What are the things that I can do here? Well, if I slide the report down to the bottom as if I were trying to slide it off of my phone screen, I'll get a toolbar that appears. On the far right, there's a More button, so I can open that up so I can see all of my choices. Create a Siri shortcut for opening this report. Go to the list of pages, which is what we have instead of a pages pane in the mobile app. Take a look at the filters that are applied. View comments. Add my own new comment here. If you pull all the way down, it actually treats that as a refresh. So there's a slight difference of how far you want to pull to get to that menu. So I could go to one of my bookmarks from here. But the command that I will use the most here is pages. because that's how I'm allowed to go from one page to the next. We have Q&A available in reports. In the upper right hand corner you see the Q&A icon. You just click to fire up Q&A. And you can annotate here as well. So if I wanted to annotate a particular visualization, first make sure you have the menu up and choose annotate. And what you really have here is a screen picture that you can then choose to annotate. So if I wanted to point to something, I can do that. Maybe stamp a smiley face on it. And now the purpose of this is to send it to someone else. So I would click here on the share button to send that off to someone using any of the applications for communication that are available on my mobile phone. If I want to erase things that I've done, I can clear all my annotations and they are all gone again. But remember, nothing I'm doing here is affecting my underlying report. Some of the other choices I have when I'm in the mobile app, if I'm looking, for example, at a tile, I have the ability to add or manage alerts for that tile right here at the bottom of my screen. Just add a new alert. I don't have every feature from the Power BI service available here in the mobile app, but I do have a lot of functionality.